Ron, thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. Appreciate it too.
Of course. So, first of all, your work in this series is incredible. I absolutely love it. So, kudos to you for that.
Thank
And
you. Thank
of course,
you.
of course. And I've been asking everybody in the cast. For me personally, this series is about grief and baggage. We're all kind of damaged in our own way and bring our own baggage, and what we do with that baggage, is I guess the defines the differences between us. What is your take on this? What is Lisey's story about to you?
Well, it's funny, Kyle, because I tried to find this example that I'm running with at the moment, and it started out with this idea or this feeling that we all have when you lose someone in your life that you're very close to, mother, father, sister, brother, uncle, friend, even a pet. And you have those moments in life where they come to you, whether it be in a voice or in a dream. Um, that's the direction that I took, coming from or working from the inside out. That was my first thought about the story, is that I have many of those moments. And so I could call them at the moment, for better term, a Stephen King moments,
Yeah.
where specifically being very close with my mother. My mother's passed many years ago, 2007, but
So sorry for
still
your loss.
daily, on birthdays or Mother's Days, she talks to me, right? Or I can hear her voice saying, Ron, don't do this, or Ron, I'm so proud of you, or whatever. And then if I take that thought and then run with it, as Stephen King does, that for me was the end to the story. And that's how and then everything else started to develop for me, as it is for everyone else who's an audience member. But as an actor, that's how I got into the story, by finding my own personal ideas of love and loss. And that was how I got into it, not from the horror place, but from this particular place of love and longing, and remembering and reminiscing. And oftentimes now I have these moments where I reminisce, and I'll either start laughing or I'll start crying, and I could be in a room by myself, or if someone else is going, well, why are you crying? And I'm just thinking about something. So yeah, that I think that for me anyway, as an actor and a craftsman, that's how I came into the story.
I love that. Particularly, I lost my mom about 5 weeks ago, and I was am extremely close with her. And this series actually kind of triggered me in many ways because of the it's so raw for me still. And
Yeah.
the series is so authentic, though, in Julianne Moore's character, is what, 2-ish years into it, and I'm experiencing many of those things now. So many flashbacks, or I pick up something that she had given me, or whatever, and I get my own kind of flashbacks, and so it's extremely interesting to me, especially personally, that is the angle that you took from it, because that's kind of the angle I am naturally in now as I watched the series.
Yeah. And then if you tell somebody that story, it depends on who they tell it and where they're at. It's like they'll go, ooh, that's spooky, or ooh, that's interesting, or ooh, I feel the same way. And so some people who are afraid of those feelings will say, oh, that's scary and spooky. So they push away. But then other times, when you relate to it, and that's how masterful I think Stephen King is. Like, this thought that I have or you're expressing can go either way,
Hmm.
right? Depending on when you're thinking about it. Is it at midnight? Is it raining? All these other elements come into play, and those thoughts sometimes can scare you, where you can actually see an image in your room that's not there.
Hmm.
Or it could be a sunny, beautiful day, and that image would be so, and then you just start crying. So yes, um, I think that's what's going to make this story so different. I can't even begin to say that it's a horror, because it's really not, right? It's sort of a psychological journey, dreamlike journey into the human psyche.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's challenging as well. So and many of us, that's what film should do. it should challenge us and make us feel something other than just thinking about a lot of intellectual things, but make you really feel something deep.
Hmm.
And this series does that, I think.
And I agree. Maya Angelou said, and I'm paraphrasing here, butchering this, I'm sure, but it's not about how you make people think or what you do. It's about how you make them feel.
That's
And
right.
and
That's right.
so many of these characters are kind of driven by that, and it makes me as a viewer respond in kind. You know what I'm saying?
That's the whole objective, man. That's what I think that's what film, theater, writing should do. It should invoke something personal, something that you can relate to, but it should make you feel something. Whether it makes you laugh hysterically or cry hysterically or just somewhere in between, but there should be a level to where you can go on a journey of many different feelings. And this accomplishes that, I think.
I
I feel
agree.
very honored to be involved in this particular project.
And what was it like, working closely with Stephen King? I mean, an icon.
Well, Kyle, I didn't get a chance physically to work with him in my scenes, but I did with the director who was very close with the different notes in the particular scenes. But I will say, from speaking on the level that we were just speaking of, you could feel Stephen always in the room because he's so closely attached to this particular project. From what we found out is one of his favorite novels, one that he's very close to. But in particular for this series, he was involved in writing every episode, and he was there, making changes as it was being developed. So, in that sense, I still feel like I was working very closely with him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially
Yeah,
with something that's like a baby to him, so
that's
personal.
right. That's right. That's right.
And your character, the professor, how did you approach him? Because he like the rest of the main cast is very complex. How did you approach that as an artist? With I'm trying to be as spoiler free as possible, but how did you approach him?
Well, the professor's kind of in between the Dane Duhan character and the Julianne Moore character,
Hmm.
right? And so that's kind of where the approach was. It was kind of finding the balance once I got into the scenes with each. So for me, it was moment to moment. I didn't have to map everything out right away. I knew we're in the context of where he was with his morality, the fact that he was power driven. So certain specific things you do know, the other things you let play out, right? Because you have a caliber of actor like Julianne Moore, a caliber of actor like Dane Duhan, there are certain unspoken things that are going to happen. And so the key is to let go and trust that you've done your homework as far as the script is concerned, and those moments will find the balance between the two. So that's why I found that character so interesting. There's a craft to the part about finding those layers where the professor is driven by his power and crosses a moral line and gets into this spooky place, this scary place where there's an underlying fear that you can hear in his voice that I think I've crossed the line, and this other character is not only I'm attached to him, but I'm attached to something ugly that I don't want to go any further with. So
Hmm.
those are some of the things that were happening between that, and trust that those things will be there after you've done your homework and you have those type of actors that part of him that's there within me, I let happen, I let come out, and hopefully I found that balance.
I think you did beautifully.
Thanks,
In
Kyle.
Of course. Finally, I was just speaking with Dane, and he was saying that he and Julianne in their scenes together would sometimes, just as soon as the take was over, would just break out in laughter. And was that the same kind of experience that you had on set? And the reason I ask this is because this is really heavy stuff in a lot of ways, and so I'm curious about your experiences.
It's a balance. Sometimes you want to hold on to something because the next scene coming up or the next take is very close. But when you have this space, for me, I like letting go. And Juliana was very open like that. I mean, I'm sure Dane might have mentioned this to you as well, but she's very giving and caring, and has this way of making you feel totally comfortable. She'll talk about other things or see how you're doing, or she'll ask questions in between. What do you think? And how's this feel? So for me, you pick and choose those moments, right? If the next take is coming up really quick, you want to stay focused and stay within that space. Sometimes for me, I want to release.
Absolutely.
And then come back re-energized, so I want to release because I've done my homework, so I can come back and latch in. I don't have to hold on to it for the whole time. For me, I need to release and then re-energize and then come back with a renewed energy. So, that's just my personal thing. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, that's where Juliana came in. She's just very caring and giving.
Thank you, Ron.
Kyle, thank you, brother.
Take care.